see it.
Yeah, there we go. All right. All right, welcome everyone. So let's do quick introductions, just so we know who's here, just your name and your community and neighborhood. And if you are involved in any groups, feel free to shout out that group. And then we'll popcorn it. So just say someone's name after you've gone, and then I'll provide some updates, give you some updates about what's going on in Springfield. Then Dave will give some updates, and then we'll open it up to all of you for anything you want to share, questions, resources, ideas. I'll start. I'm Maggie Sherwinski from the Active Transportation Alliance. I live in Chicago, and I will pass it to Dave.
Dave Simmons with Ride, Illinois, and I live in Elk Grove Village, and Bill Chalberg's just staring me down. So we're going to Bill next.
Hey, Dave. Hi, everybody. Bill Chalberg, Downers Grove Bike Club, passing it on to Ride of Silence, Elizabeth Adamczyk.
Hey, Bill, how did I know you were going to do that? Elizabeth Adamczyk, chiming in here from Oak Forest, Illinois, South Suburb. Coordinator of the Rite of Silence in Chicago, and amidst other things. And I'm going to pass it over to Dave Barish.
Hi, I'm David Barish, and I'm with the Skokie Bike Network. And I didn't realize Ben Harris, also of the Skokie Bike Network, was going to be here. So, Ben, I'm going to pass it to you.
Great, Ben Harris, Skokie Bicycle Network, en route to St. Louis, so I might lose connection. And Dave, remind us to do a shout out about the Skokie Tales from the Trails later on in the call.
Sure will.
Dave, I'm also going to have you say the next person's name because I don't have it up in front of me.
How about Katie Ostrowski?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay,
Yep.
Sorry. I'm struggling a little bit with my internet today. One of my neighbors, my upstairs neighbor, is having some work done. So I'm wondering if that's like having an impact. But so my name's Katie. I currently work at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And Commissioner Teresa Flynn forwarded me some information and an email about today's meeting and asked if I could hop on in her place. But I'm really happy to be here. Very big advocate for cycling, especially in the city. I live in Chicago, and luckily my alderman is very much in support of safe biking and everything. We just got some new protected bike lanes not far from where I live. Because not too long ago, I think this was summer 2020, my bike was clipped by a car and I fell and broke my wrist. So always been an advocate for safe transportation, but especially now. And so I'm happy to be on the call today and just kind of hear some exciting updates. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Katie. Do you want to choose someone else?
Hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll through. It's hard for me.
Oh, no worries. I can call on someone for you on your behalf.
Okay, if that's not too much trouble. Sorry.
Of course not.
My internet.
Let's go with Ryan.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Peterson. I'm a planner for Epstein Global and big bicycle and scooter enthusiast, and happy to be on the call. And I will throw it over to Casey Crowley.
Hi everyone, my name is Casey Crowley. I am the Bike and Pedestrian Coordinator for Kane County, and I will turn it over to Allison Hanson.
Good morning, everyone. Allison Hanson from the Illinois Medical District. We are currently in the midst of a walkability, bikeability study in the district, so always exciting to join this call. I joined a little late, but I'll turn it over to Nicole Vall. Perhaps she hasn't entered yet.
I haven't. I was also a little late, so I apologize for that. But I'm Nicole Vall. I'm the Health and Science Program Manager for the IMD. So I don't know who hasn't gone yet.
Yeah, I can call on someone for you. How about Ralph?
Yeah, Ralph Benasiak with the Bike Palatine Club, also with FCEG in Arlington Heights. I write a bi-weekly biking column in the Suburban Daily Herald. I will pass it on to fellow Bike Palatine Club member Mikey Swire.
Hey, I'm Mikey Swire from Streamwood. As Ralph mentioned, I'm with Bike Peloton Club, also a Ride Illinois Rat, also with Friends of Cycling Elk Grove.
Mikey, do you want to choose someone else? Or I'm happy to too, so.
I think Elliot hasn't gone.
No, I haven't. Thank you. Elliot Rawson in Highland Park. On the board of Active Trans and also on the Bike Walk HP group, and very involved in all things cycling, ride with the Velo Club Roubaix group up here on the North Shore. And I'll turn it over to Helen, maybe.
Yeah, I think she was having some audio issues. So she in the
Okay.
chat,
Rome?
she's from the city of Joliet, just so,
Oh.
but yeah, sorry. Go
And I
ahead.
think Rome hasn't gone.
Yeah, Rome Fergus, Executive Director, Quincy Park District, and member of Friends of the Trails.
Great. And then let's see who else hasn't. Oh, I see Lindsay Bailey. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Bailey with CMAP. I'm the program lead for Safe and Complete Streets. My conflict just got canceled, so sorry to
Yay.
join late, but I can at least be here.
Great. And Mike Erickson, I don't think you've gone yet. You're muted, but you can feel free to add if you see the chat. Add your name, where you're from in there. And I think, did we miss anyone? I think we got everyone. Okay, so let's get started. I know there's a lot to cover today. So a few updates before I give you all updates about the Springfield bills. So one is Bike Month is May. So it's a celebration of biking nationally, but also locally. And I know several of your communities are doing organizing events, proclaiming May as Bike Month. But we have a list of Suburban events going on our webpage. So I'll make sure to share that with all of you. But if any of you have any events going on in your communities, we'd love to help promote it. So please share with the group and definitely encourage you to check out each other's events if you're able. And we also have a Bike Month stipend that we're offering. So we're going to award 10 groups or individuals around the region a mini stipend of $250. So it's not a lot, but it can maybe help you organize a fun event during the month of May or beyond. I know like our timing with this stipend, sometimes it takes a little longer to organize something. So we'd love for you to apply and then we'll announce awards. Or the deadline for it is May 5th and we'll announce awards the next week. A couple IDOT updates. There's a vulnerable road users safety assessment going on right now. There's a map of the entire state where people can click on and you can just flag like there's an issue with walking or biking on this road or this intersection, and it can be any road. It doesn't have to be a state road. So I encourage you to check out that map and also ask others to fill it out, because like you know your local streets better than anyone. So, and especially like in this group, I feel like you could definitely make some important bring some important dangerous intersections or roads to IDOT's attention through this project. And then
Maggie, question for you on that. I was planning to write my next column, or the next one I submit anyway, about the vulnerable road users assessment. Isn't that from the federal government on down to each state has to do it?
Yeah, it's from what I understand, and some of you might know more, but they were looking at states that have more than 15% of crashes are people walking or biking, and Illinois falls into that category. So unfortunately, we have to use a certain amount of money that goes towards dealing with or just improving safety for walking and biking. And then in this vulnerable road users assessment is all part of that.
And do you know what will IDOT do with all these little pins we're putting on the map?
Yeah, I mean, they're working on this assessment right now, and it's going to be completed, I believe, this fall. Dave, you might
I think
know more.
November is when
November.
yeah.
And then the plan is to like, I'm not sure exactly. They're going to synthesize it and perhaps come up with a few, or not a few, but several areas for implementation, for future implementation of improving safety.
Okay, I've got one contact. If I need more, I'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks.
I'm actually meeting with IDOT about that at 1, so I'll have to
Oh.
leave this early, but if there are questions, I can pass them along.
Yes, okay. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel like write them in the chat or share with Lindsay. But yeah, great. But yeah, spread the word. We'd love to get more people participating. And let's see, what else did I want to share? Oh, ITAP awards were announced. That's always an exciting time of year. So that's our, our biggest pot of funding, state funding and federal funding for walking and biking projects. And there were 70 some projects that were awarded funding this year. And we always like to keep track of those. A few other things I wanted to shout out. There are a lot of different projects going on around the region. And one I just wanted to make note of, Miss Lucas couldn't be here today, but there's a Lake Calumet bike network study going on, which is like Lake Calumet area, so South Chicago and South Cook County. And so it's the cities and villages of Burnham, Dolton, Calumet City, South Holland, and Riverdale. And so they're looking at creating a comprehensive network for bicyclists in the area. And there was just a meeting, and they're trying to get, input from people. So I'll pass out information that the project team sent along about that project. So it's exciting things are going on in the South suburbs. And then also, it's our Movers and Shakers Ball tonight. This is our big annual event. It's a big party. It's at the Chicago History Museum this year. And last year, Ralph received an award during this event. So yay, Ralph. And this year, Mayor Thompson from Broadview, who has been on some of these calls in the past, she's receiving an award. And she's like, if you're looking for a model mayor, she is someone to look towards. Like, she organizes weekly walks and bike rides with her constituents. She's brought in millions of dollars into Broadview in like the last few years to improve the bicycle pedestrian network. And she started organizing, I think it's third or fourth year now, this bike ride called the Tour de Proviso. And she's gotten 14 mayors in the surrounding area all involved in this. And they do a ride through the communities in the township. And she's gotten hundreds of riders out. And I went 2 years ago, and it was super exciting. So it's a fun event to attend, and nice to meet some other mayors and elected officials who are really passionate about this. And she's done a really great job bringing people together. So now I want to share a bit about bill updates from Amy, from our executive director. So we have lobbyists, and I know Ride Illinois, we share a lot of this work with working on bills in Springfield and working with our lobbyists, and we've been tracking them. And I know a lot of you have helped fill out witness slips, and there's actually another action alert that's coming out today, because we need to get a few bills. We want to do witness slips and get some action alerts, and we need to get more co-sponsors on some of the bills that we're tracking. So if you can all help spread the word on this, that would be excellent. And usually the timing of this is pretty quick, so I'll try to email you all this link as soon as it's available. But the bills that are actively moving right now through the House and Senate, there is a bike trail signage bill. It is SB 1710, in case I know some of you like to keep track of the numbers. it is, so the bill is establishing, or it would require that all trails have adequate signage for vehicle crossings. And if there's some detours, that there's signage about that. And the latest on this is it passed the Senate and it's moved over to the House. So this is one where we're looking for more co-sponsors, and then we want to encourage your representative to vote yes when it goes to the House floor. Another bill that we're tracking is this RTA disability benefits bill that would ensure that people with disabilities who are part of the discounted fare program that allows them to ride CTA Metro Pace for free. It would their coverage would automatically renew for membership every 5 years. So I think some people would just wouldn't get that renewed and then no longer had the free opportunities to access transit. So that bill also passed the Senate. It's in the House. And so, yeah, so it passed out of a transportation committee meeting yesterday. So now it's going to go to the House floor. So again, once it goes to the House floor, we'd love to encourage all of your representatives to vote yes and to also co-sponsor. The third bill we're looking at is about, we're calling it the truck turning radius bill. So it's about creating more people-friendly intersections. And this bill would allow communities to limit which vehicles can use their roadways and then design intersections that are safer for pedestrians and cyclists. So what happens is there are some 65-foot trucks, they don't need to be using every street. And so right now what happens is communities have to design intersections so that those giant trucks can turn on those streets, even though they'll never be using those streets. So that prevents a lot of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure from being able to get built. So this is a really important bill that we think could impact a lot of your communities. So this one, kind of same story, it's passed the Senate, it's moved over to the House. I know there were a lot of talks with the trucking organizations, and there hasn't, it seems like everyone is in agreement that it would be helpful for this bill to pass, but we still need to make sure that things can pop up. So it's really helpful to get more co-sponsors, and again, voting yes is important. So
what's the number again?
Oh, sorry, that one is SB 2278. So SB 2278, I can put the links to all of these in the chat. And the other one, the RTA bill, was SB 1892. And then the previous one, the one about the bicycle trail signage, is SB 1710. And then the fourth one we're looking at is about establishing a zero fatalities task force. This is HB 2131. And this would create a statewide task force that will help chart the pathway towards eliminating traffic deaths. So it would look at speed limits and other solutions. This one it passed the House, and it just moved out of it passed the House, and now it's in a transportation committee in the Senate. So we're following it. We're waiting to see what's going to happen.
Maggie, is that last one related to any of the federal legislation?
Not that I know of. I'm not actually sure. I don't know, Dave, if you have any.
I don't believe there's any time, and there's similar initiatives happening, but I don't.
Because you were saying the VRU assessment is for states with 15% or more fatalities based on biking and pedestrians. So it seemed like there might be a linkage here.
The safety assessment is from the IIJA, so that's where that came from. I don't think there's any legislative link to.
Okay.
Yeah, to needing a task force, but this would help for sure. And then the fifth one that is moving along right now is it's SB 2014. So this is IDOT safety improvement during resurfacing. So the Illinois Department of Transportation would have to develop policy for improving infrastructure on state routes for people walking and biking when the street is undergoing routine maintenance. And this is definitely a huge improvement, because right now it's only when reconstruction happens
Can you
that,
give that number again?
yeah, 2014.
Thanks.
So that one passed the Senate, and I actually just got an email from Amy that, what did she say? I think it just passed out of committee in the House, so it will be going to the House floor. So it's exciting to see that one moving forward. And again, so with these 5 bills that we're tracking, we'll have an action alert later today that I'll again email to all of you, so that you can, I think if you click on the action alert, it will email your representative to ask them to be a co-sponsor, and ask them to vote yes. I know Terry Witt, I don't think he's here today, but he often will email his representatives or senators and be like, please co-sponsor this bill. And I've seen him many times get his senator or representative on a bill just by a simple email. So it can really, it just like brings the bill to their attention, and it makes a big difference to help the bill move forward. And then the other, just, I don't know a lot about what happened, but there were 2 other bills that I know you guys were interested in. There's one about speed limits, reducing speed limits from 30 to 20 for a default speed limit across the state, and another one for stop as yield for bicyclists. And those didn't move forward. And I don't know a lot of details, but we're going to be working with our lobbyists and thinking through a strategy on, what to try to understand what happened, and if it's possible to restructure and find some success in the future. And Dave, I don't know if you have an update on the e-bike rebates, incentives.
Yeah, I'll be testifying this afternoon via Zoom for 3 minutes. The bills themselves seem to have kind of fizzled, but it's a subject matter hearing. So we're going to share some information about why Ride Illinois and Active Trans feel that an e-bike incentive or rebate program is beneficial for Illinois residents. So not unexpected. We kind of thought that maybe the first time this was introduced, as oftentimes the first time something is introduced, it doesn't really gain traction. So this is in partnership with Senator Mike Simmons, trying to keep the topic at least, kind of top of mind as much as that can be for a legislator.
So Dave, are you testifying with the Senate Transportation Committee?
Senate Revenue Committee.
Senate Revenue Committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. And Dave, if you want to go next, those are all the updates I had.
That's it, Maggie?
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah, and I'm going to share an update to Maggie. Maggie's so good about sending out an email later with some links in that. But wanted to touch briefly on the National Bike Summit. So I see Bill Chalberg is here. Elizabeth, I think, he had to drop off, but some of us are out in DC at the end of last month, I guess it was. And I wanted to mention the asks for the National Bike Summit. We need to check on kind of status of where these things are, but we too may be sending some information and asking you to contact your members of Congress. But the asks were, there were 3. One was a federal e-bike act. So it was actually a tax rebate is what's been proposed in both the House and Senate. The Senate bill's gaining a little bit of traction, but certainly not, not a mass of folks signing on at this point. Another is, and again, the bills will be included, but there's a bill to remove barriers to TAP or Transportation Alternatives Program funding. It's a bill that's named in memory of a woman, Sarah Langenkamp, who was struck and killed in DC. Some of you may have heard her terrible story, and now the advocacy that her husband Dan has been doing. The third ask had the deadline is come and gone, but I think you all might find this interesting. Chicago requires vendors that are using larger vehicles to have side guards or side underride guards. They got a couple different names on their trucks, but there's only one state currently, and that's Massachusetts, that requires that for at a state level. What the ask was simply to include vulnerable road users in testing of truck side guards. The current means of testing is vehicles only, and I believe it was 35 miles an hour is how they test it. So the ask was we need to kind of worry about people that are outside of vehicles. I don't know how, because it was like a Dear Colleague letter, it's kind of a precursor to a bill. The hope is that we can get the word, spread the word throughout the House and see if that can become a requirement for future side guard testing. So, Bill, is there anything you would want to add since you were there and we were tag teaming on the meetings?
The Sarah DeBink Langenkamp Active Transportation Safety Act was interesting because I, in December, met a friend of her father's, and then I found out what the whole thing was, and then Dave and I heard her husband speak at a congressional briefing, and then I got an email from her dad, and all of a sudden, instead of just sort of an academic thing and a tragedy and all, it became very personal. So it motivated me to work a little harder this year.
Thanks, Bill. So there are still some follow-ups. We're trying to get another meeting with Congressman Danny Davis in his office tomorrow. Hopefully it'll work out. So we're trying to keep traction on those things that we're moving at the federal level. Couple more things here. Maggie mentioned some exciting things with IDOT. I think as advocates, IDOT tends to be an easy target. But I will tell you, there are very engaged, enthusiastic people that want to make change within the department. So I would encourage you to, if you get in those conversations, IDOT this, IDOT that, it's easy, but it's not that simple. So IDOT, and apart from the vulnerable road user safety assessment, they're working on a statewide bike facilities inventory. They're also working to update what was the bike transportation plan. It's evolving into an active transportation plan, and they're scheduling stakeholder meetings in each IDOT district. And then we actually met with them yesterday and are going to assist some IDOT staff with revising both their bike safety materials, which are a little bit out of date, but also developing some motorist-facing materials, because there's information out there if you ride a bike, and there's information if you drive a car, but we feel that there's a gap in awareness of other people are doing other things. So that was a very fresh conversation yesterday, but we're excited, as are the folks that we spoke with at IDOT, that we're willing to help refresh and revise some of those materials. A couple other conversations that we're excited about, say guardedly excited. We've been in touch with the State Board of Education. Some of you may recall several years ago, House Bill 4799. Why do these numbers just get imprinted on our brains? But it was the bike walk education in schools. Didn't have any real teeth to it. ISB is interested, and we've had 2 conversations now about developing, ISB can only approve, but if we can develop curriculum that ISB would approve, that would make content resources available to schools to teach, in K-12 schools about safe biking and walking. So there's a follow-up conversation, I want to say in 2 weeks, but the woman who we've spoke with is in a decision-making position and is very interested in safety is one of the things she's tasked with. So excited about that potential. Also excited about the Secretary of State. So we have a new Secretary of State. They want to develop a bike ped task force, though the timeline keeps getting strung out. My understanding is it's pretty hard to get a new administration up and running. Maggie, I know you're on the list of folks who would kind of get invited. They want to start with a small group. So I can't say that you all can join right now. There may be opportunity to join, but the point in that conversation is really two. So bike ped task force to talk about reducing fatalities, making sure that there's safe places for people to bike and walk, but also revising or updating the driver's exam, which I think is a very exciting opportunity. I haven't taken the driver's exam in I don't know how long. In that time, how many new laws are there? How is infrastructure has changed? So how do we make sure that motorists are aware of the changes that happen year to year? So again, guarded optimism that there could be some progress there. And back to the point about IDOT, it's easy, and you may see some of this on social media. It's easy to I call it the blame and shame. Tag so and they're at so and so. How dare you? The real job of advocates is to develop relationships over time, right? And to simply shame an individual or a department or whatever. That's not a long goal, right? So I would encourage you all, whether it's in your local communities or at state level, wherever you are, work to develop relationships so you kind of build up that capital and then collaborate versus coming down on folks. So just a little bit of editorializing there. A couple other things here. The Illinois High School College Drivers Ed Association. There's an annual conference next week. I'll be representing Ride Illinois there. Be talking about some changes to the driver's ed curriculum as well. Those should be announced by ISB, the Board of Education, here in the next couple weeks. We're working on a digital ad campaign funded by IDOT. We did some really fun filming with Miss Lucas, who was unable to join us today, and another young advocate, Banjo Cortez. So those will be coming out on social media in May. And then let's see, lastly, just a couple events that are coming up. We're starting up our free bicycle friendly driver course again. So the first session is tomorrow night. It's via Zoom. I'll include a link to register or share. And Charlie Sachs, who many of you may know, is going to lead the conversations this month. So it'll be the next 6 months, one a month. A Ride Illinois annual member meeting, also via Zoom. That's going to be Saturday. We invite current and future members. Maybe a little tease is that we're going to be unveiling our new strategic plan. So if you're interested in that, hop on to Zoom. It's at 5 o'clock on Saturday. Ben Harris is on the call. I understand he's not driving, so that's good. But Ben, maybe call on you real quick. We're working with the Forest Preserves of Cook County on events we're calling the Pedal the Preserves. Ben, are you?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we're partnering with the Forest Preserves to conduct 5 free events at each one of the major locations. We're actively seeking LCIs to help spearhead the event. It's about 2 hours in each location. It's either a Saturday or Sunday. And the Forest Preserves are marketing it. And it's a pilot program, so we're looking forward to it. And if you're interested in an LCI to help staff it, please reach out to myself or Dave at Ride Illinois. I'm throwing it back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Ben. And Ben's doing a great job. He's actually doing all the coordination for us with the Forest Preserve. So we appreciate his involvement. And then the last thing, again, links will be shared. We develop our annual ride guide and we publish that via issue. So a digital magazine. So that's available. Not only does it have events in the area, but it has, some safety information, some information about clubs and community orgs. It's meant to be a kind of an informative, empowering type of publication. And then given where we're at on April 26th and the sun is shining, it's a great time either for you or for folks that you communicate with to retake our bike safety quiz, refresh your knowledge of both biking and driving your bicyclists. So again, share that link via the email that will be coming to Maggie momentarily. So happy to answer any questions, but I think we want to get on to updates from you all.
Hey, Dave, question about the ISBE curriculum development.
Yeah.
Is the plan to include the bike safety quiz as part of an assessment?
I don't know. Ralph, I worked in assessment for nearly 20 years. I think the bike safety quiz does a fine job, but also internally, we oftentimes review the bike safety quiz, refer to bike safety quiz 2.0. So possibly some of the content would be included. But, if we can get more information out, via schools, like, through that pipeline, the real goal is to get the information out. So if bike safety quiz or some other means of assessment is included, I think we see that as a like icing on the cake.
Great, thanks, Steve, for all the updates. I know that I had checked in with a few of you, and there are some updates from you all. Maybe we can start with the Skokie Bike Network on an event you're organizing. I don't know, Dave or Ben, if you wanted to.
I'll take that. Skokie Bike Network is having a storytelling show on July 9th at Sketchbook Brewing in Skokie called Tales from the Trails. And Sketchbook Brewery is conveniently located right next to the Valley Line Trail. So if you're coming from the city, we're easy to get to, and you can stop off and have a beer and hear some stories. We are seeking submissions. And Ralph, there are sometimes stories that just aren't publishable, but they may make great stories because they have a different way of approaching things, and they're more personal than the objective journalistic way that you have to get into things. So I'm just saying. Deadline for submissions is May 22nd. We'll let you guys know a couple of weeks later. Who we choose will take about 8 to 10, depending upon what kind of submissions we get. Stories of 8 minutes. They got to be PG-13, so we can't have, there's certain stories that you just can't tell, because even though it's a bar, it's the type of bar that people might bring their kids to hang out to, and we're trying to encourage that. So please submit, and if that's not your thing, but you would really like to hang out with some bike nerds and hear some stories, come and join us on July 9th. Go to skokiebikenet.org and you'll see all the information for how to submit and how to attend. There's a link right at the top that Charlie put on our webpage, Tales from the Trails. Thanks.
And if I could add, this is Ben, you do not have to be a Skokie resident to submit a submission. So more the merrier.
Great, it sounds like a super fun event. Great idea.
And if I could add one thing, Charlie, I'm doing my best to change what can get printed in the Herald.
Let's see. Ben, did you want to share a little bit about what you're doing in the Illinois Medical District, and or Nicole or Allison?
I can do a quick overview. I've been titled the Bicycle Ambassador to try to do a grassroots movement as the bike and pedestrian safety plan is being developed by the Sam Schwartz RM Chin organization. And we're going to be hosting a series of lunch and learns that'll be posted on the IMD district. And I'll let either Allison or somebody else talk about the safety and the bicycle and pedestrian safety plan that's currently underway.
Sure, I can chime in. So the Illinois Medical District won a Invest in Cook grant last year. And so we're using that to put together a pedestrian and bicycle safety action plan. So we're currently kind of doing a lot of like collecting data and kind of getting a general like current conditions assessment done. So that should be done soon. And now we're doing a bunch of outreach. So we're kind of, we've put together a working group, and we're doing some focus groups, focusing in on university students, government employees, nonprofits. And then we also want to hit the middle school and high school youth as well in the district, because we have a number of schools. So we're kind of currently doing that and gathering a lot of data, but we should have the plan done by September. So, if anyone's interested in more information or getting involved, just please let me know.
Super, thanks. And I feel like everyone knows someone who works at the Illinois Medical District
Yes.
or rides through it or walks through it. So make sure to
Exactly.
share.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the update on all that. And then I wanted to pass it over to Lindsay Bailey, who works at CMAP, about the safety action plans and a grant that the region recently won.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you heard that CMAP got I guess it was almost $5 million to do safety action plans for 6 of the counties in our region. And we are working out the details of our official agreement with Federal Highway right now. We have a meeting tomorrow. So we don't yet have the money from them, but we have released our first RFP, and I can put a link to that. It is for a consultant to oversee the work of the 6 safety action plans. And after that one, we will have separate RFPs for each of these 6 county plans and one equity and engagement consultant to work with all 6 of the counties. But I just wanted to let people know that we're moving forward with that. Eventually we will need engagement and your networks to reach out with once we get going.
Great, thanks, Lindsay, for the update. So we'll keep you all updated as that moves forward. And let's see, Elliot, did you want to share a little bit about what's been going on in Highland Park and some lessons you've learned with some advocacy you've been working towards on Green Bay Road? Whoops.
Sure, I'd love to. This has been a very long and kind of frustrating project. It started, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago when Highland Park got a federal grant through IDOT to basically renovate a 3-mile stretch of Green Bay Road in Highland Park. Part of it is total reconstruction of the road. So it's one of those opportunities to kind of do things differently, whether it's the infrastructure underneath it, whether it's the bike or walk accommodations. And I got involved in this about, I don't know, it might be a year ago. And the phase 1 engineering had been kind of done. And as part of the Highland Park's bike walk plan, the Green Bay Road was actually identified specifically as like the one road in Highland Park where we felt we could put a bike lane in. It was wide enough, and so it was our big opportunity. It's been a very frustrating experience, and despite our efforts to collaborate, there's been a lot of learnings. And so this is kind of for people who are in the community and working with their city or government on trying to develop a program, some thoughts. So the first thing is to really assess the experience and the knowledge that they have. Because in some cities they have, might have a whole department that's involved in bike walk stuff. In some cities, they may have almost zero knowledge, which is what it is in Highland Park. Start to kind of, if you don't have that knowledge, then you need to really, as a grassroots group, develop that relationship very quickly and start from the very beginning of the project to be involved. And so really needs, a lot of what you guys have talked about is advocacy with different user groups, and Dave mentioned collaboration and not pissing people off. And so that's been a big thing to really think about. The city staff hired consultants, and consultants were what we found to be not very knowledgeable about bike and walking infrastructure, even though they had some credentials. The people who were working on the project actually weren't involved in that one project that really was relevant. So working with the city to make sure that if you don't have expertise in the city, you get consultants that do. Because if they don't understand all the different rules that IDOT might use, all the AASHTO and NACTO and all the different kind of requirements, then you won't end up in the kind of place you want to be. And if they're only used to designing roads, then don't assume that they know how to design a bike lane. And that became very, very clear. And so unfortunately, I became kind of the main consultant for bike research, bike safety research, and what you can do, what you can't do, what you can look at, because the city wasn't really doing that. The next thing is, if you've got a plan, like a bike walk plan, or you've got a complete streets policy, or any kind of policy that refers to goals for biking and requirements, leverage that, because that was something I kept coming back to and saying, well, 5 times in our bike walk plan, we talk about Green Bay Road bike lane. So this is not a new idea. This is something we've all agreed about. And then the other thing is to get involved in how the outreach to the public goes, because that is so important for gaining support. And in Highland Park, if one person doesn't like the fact that you're going to have to move their curb, 2 inches inland, they get all upset and they get petitions for people to sign and put up yard signs and threaten legal action. And believe it or not, this actually happened in Highland Park, when after a public presentation that was so poorly done that the people were afraid that all their trees were going to be cut down, that they're going to widen all the roads, that it was going to be, bike lanes everywhere. And it immediately created this incredible backlash because there was, bad information, there was misinformation that got spread on Nextdoor, and it was just unbelievable trying to refute some of that information out there, which once it's out, it's out. People Googling research on bike lanes and putting it out there as evidence that, this kind of bike lane would be bad, even though the research was based in Eastern European country where they drive on the wrong side of the road, and they actually only had bicycles allowed on the road in the last 3 years, that kind of research. So I spent a lot of time working with a lot of different groups through Active Trans, through Ride Illinois, through Ed Barsati, who's a consultant and former executive director of Ride Illinois, who was wonderful, and working with IDOT people, People for Bikes, League of American Bicyclists, NACTO also was very helpful in helping identify some studies. Another thing is, think about intersections very carefully, because those are the points of conflict, and those are the points where it's the most hard for you to fit in that bike lane. And so we ended up having to get rid of some sections of road because, the city made a commitment to all these screaming, yelling residents that didn't want widening, that they wouldn't widen the roads. Well, at an intersection, when you have a left turn lane, you run out of space very quickly. So all that needs to be thought of in advance. And with IDOT, there's limitations to what they'll accept in terms of discontinuous bike lanes. I mentioned there's a lot of information about bike safety. My takeaways are that protected bike lanes are safer and more comfortable, for sure. The studies are pretty convincing. Sharrows are not. There's no good evidence at all that says that they're better for safety or for comfort, but they may be valuable for navigation to help people find their way to someplace. And that what you call a conventional, or sometimes it's called a buffered bike lane or a lined bike lane, the evidence is pretty slim about where it's helpful. So it's generally not bad, but it's not as convincing by far as a protected bike lane. And then you just have to keep, sending information to the people who are the big decision makers. So in our case, the city council was going to have a big meeting. And so I ended up, sending a multi-page support for the bike lanes and the safety of bike lanes. And I'm happy to share that with people because it seemed to have some effect on the city council meeting. Even people who voted against it tended to vote against it because their brother-in-law, who's a triathlete and rides only on Sheridan Road, doesn't know why we need a bike lane on Green Bay Road. And that was his explanation to me. So the other thing that's, I think, of interest to all the communities is that Zillow, the online real estate company, fairly recently just added bike scores to the communities. And so if you look for a home, they'll give you not only a walk score and a transit score, but a bike score now. And so I'm sure the reason they're doing that is because people are looking for that. And that's something you can tell the people in the city, because one of the most important things is for them to help keep up real estate values and improve the nature of the city. So I'll end there. If people have questions, I'll put my email in the chat. So you feel free to contact me. Okay, Maggie, I don't know what the best way is to share this.
Yeah, Elliot, if you share it with me, I can find a way to make it easy to share with others, because I feel like you've collected so many great resources, and I think it's really valuable research you found that can help another community make the case.
Yeah, and one other thing I did is I actually talked to the head person in Cleveland Heights about their Complete Streets program, actually separately from this, but it eventually kind of talked about that because their program is considered the #1 Complete Streets policy by
the National Complete Streets Coalition.
Yeah, so it was one of those
Or America
2018.
Walks, maybe.
Yeah.
Elliot, could we just ask, because this is important to everybody on the entire North Shore, it's not a Highland Park only issue. Where does the project stand?
So the
given
project
all that you've
stands-
been through.
So basically, I actually got invited to a meeting between the city staff and IDOT to go over where we stood, I was shocked that we had waited that long. And the first thing that happened is the main contact asked why I was on the call. and basically the city had to explain how that worked. And that set things off on the right foot. And I said, well, I'll go away if you don't want me. And it proved valuable. I was there. And what they came back to, which was really interesting, was the needs and the purpose that were in the original IDOT definition of the project scope. And if your needs and definition says that it must be a continuous bike trail, then they will not support it if you have a block of your street that you can't put a bike lane in because you have left turn lanes on the whole block, which is what happened to us. So they had to do a workaround on that. So we ended up going from a 3-mile bike lane to a 0.65-mile bike lane on Green Bay Road, with using side streets at the south end and the north end to connect the two north and south points. And those points, those will be bike routes. They will not be bike lanes. They may not even have sharrows on them, so they'll have signage. And of course, no one's going to follow those bike routes because, if you're coming from Glencoe and going into Highland Park, you're going to go right down Green Bay Road. And if you've got 15 feet of new asphalt on each side of the road, that's going to be a real pleasure. And, the people don't understand that the bike lanes will actually make it less of a highway than if you didn't have bike lanes. So that's where it stands. the city council was kind of 4-3 for it. And they're starting to work on phase 2 engineering. So it's a very, we're making some progress. At this point, we're hoping that we can get at least something for bike lanes in the city and be happy with that. And once IDOT goes away, then we can figure out how to add bike lanes south of that or north of that on city-owned and maintained streets where we're not getting financing from, the government.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Elliot, for sharing all of that. I know it's frustrating. And though you've done a lot to, move things in a direction that at least is doing something to accommodate bicyclists, but yeah.
And now we've got like an incredible, like we have the mayor's ear, the city manager's ear. Everybody reports to the city manager. Gita, really appreciates what we've done. Ed Barsati and other people gave us so much information, which is so appreciated, that we could share with the city. And the city really sees us as a partner.
Great. So yeah, like what Dave was saying, like the long game is about those collaborations and those relationships you're building. Yeah. Well, so I know we don't have much time left, but I did want to see Ginger. I see you're here. Did you want to share any updates about the East Branch DuPage River Trail?
Well, hello, everybody. Nice to see you guys. Thank you, Maggie. It's good to see you. It's been a while. So I feel your pain, Elliot, with the East Branch DuPage River Trail that I've been working on for 9 years. Yeah, we had an opposition group spring up last summer, and it's been horrible ever since. And it's the same thing. They just like make up stuff, and you're like, wait, no one ever said we were cutting down 3,000 trees. That's not a thing. But yet it is a thing because someone said it, even though they made it up. And I like your patience and your steadiness, because I tend to get like really emotional about it. And I'm just like, nobody said that. Why are you saying it? But anyway, it's a thing. I guess we need to learn how to deal with the opposition. Maybe we need a workshop on that, Maggie.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Because it's like whack-a-mole to try to tamp it down, and next door's no help at all. It all comes out of next door.
Next door is the worst.
Yeah, so I mean, our big news is that our Congressman Sean Casten was able to secure us a $1.5 million grant that's going to help our county do some engineering for about 6 miles of our East Branch DuPage River Trail. That's part of the long range plan for DuPage County and has been for many decades. This is not my trail. It's not my idea. Just the advocate, as Dave said, taking the long game. And we're excited about that. They have not gotten the money yet from what we understand. So I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. But with this opposition group, it's a little bit nerve-wracking because this group has been successful at shutting IDOT down in the past. They tried to widen IDOT back in the 1990s, and they were successful at shutting them down. And as a result, IDOT has done nothing to the stretch of road since that time. I mean, it's crumbling and they still haven't done anything. So it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. But that's where we're at. And all good. We had a really great meeting. Oh my gosh. If you guys ever want to get this group called the Ostbergs, if you've ever heard of Joyce, and I think his name was Bill Ostberg, they're historians, and they have a channel on YouTube called Be Historic. It's on YouTube, and it's the history of all these weird things in DuPage County, including the Illinois Prairie Path. And they go into how it used to be a railroad, and they talk about the electric railroad. And then they have all these weird things you can go look at in DuPage County, like different Indian mounds and things like that from the 1800s. And it's really fascinating. So Be Historic if you got got some time on your hands, you want to check out their YouTube. It's really good. And they gave us a talk and we did a bike ride on Earth Day. We did a Rails to Trails opening day. It was great. We got a lot of great people and had a really good time, even though the weather was kind of weird that day. We had like 8 seasons in about 2 hours. I don't know if you guys were around on Saturday. It was like snow and then hail, and then sun would come out. It was crazy. Anyway, that's my updates, fighting the opposition and just moving forward and waiting to see if when this alleged $1.5 million is supposed to arrive at our county.
Great. Well, thanks, Ginger, for the update. Fingers crossed that you get that $1.5 million. And I love the idea of gathering you all to do some type of workshop on like how do you deal with those groups that pop up that like,
yeah, it's really stressful, right? It's very NIMBY. They go on the attack and you're like whack-a-mole trying to knock down these things. And then what happened in my case is some hapless person saw their website. They're really good at getting their word out on their website. And he read, he goes to a city council meeting and he says, I saw on the website 3,000 trees are getting cut down. Then that gets in the minutes of the city council meeting. So now it's like, it's sort of official. It says it in the minutes because this guy said it because he read it on some random website that somebody just made up. And now all of a sudden it is a real thing. And it's like, yeah, they just literally made that up. They went on the side of the road and counted buckthorn and called it 3,000 trees.
Oh no.
So Ginger, the worst thing that happened to us is the former bike shop in town, the owner who still lives in Highland Park, came out against doing the bike lane on Green Bay Road. And I won't get into personalities about this person, but it was like, that just fueled everything. Oh, well, if a bike owner says we don't need it, then why should we do it? And it's like, and even though we had, the Trek Highland Park and another store in Glencoe that supported it, that one bike dealer that really hurt.
Yeah, it hurts. I mean, even one loud voice hurts. These guys, there's about 4 or 5 of them. They're very organized and they're really good at what they do. They put out a great website. They made a brochure. They put up a video. I mean, they've been relentless at harassing our elected officials. I mean, all of them, like every level. It's unbelievable. And then but what they're saying isn't true. Like they just are not telling the truth. And it's
put the genie back in the
frustrating.
Yeah.
What?
You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. It makes it really hard to move forward. And then they personally attacked me. I mean, I'm like, I was on their website. I'm like, take me off your website.
So
that was fun.
I'm telling this to my brother, my son-in-law to be, and he told me about in the Bay Area, there was a group that was getting hassled and they produced these shirts called the Radical Bike Lobby. And they're actually, so I have a shirt. Maggie, I may wear it tonight.
Yeah.
And basically, I and this other guy were accused of being part of some bike lobby that was supporting this bike lane. And that was, they said, why would you be so like defending it so much? It's like, because I think it's the right thing to do. But they literally said, you must be part of the bike lobby.
It's a good idea. We'll create one. Anyway, thank you for the time. It was good to see you. Hope the baby's good.
Oh yeah, no, things are good with little Beatrice, but yeah, no, I appreciate all of you sharing the good and the bad. We'll have to try to, together as a group, think through all of this and help support each other. I know that it can be frustrating sometimes, but you're also doing amazing work, all of you. So, and things are moving forward in many ways as well, even though it seems frustrating when you look at individual issues. So anyway, thanks all for the meeting. I'll send out links there were lots of things mentioned today, so I'll make sure you all have all those details, and feel free to reach out with any questions. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next time. So enjoy the month of May, enjoy Bike Month, and talk to you soon. All right, bye.
Everybody.